Hello everyone, this is the Carver's Woodshop as we wait for some people to come into the room. This is live on Facebook tonight. It will be put on YouTube a little bit later, and I'll tell you which one we decided to do. Let's wait till a few people come in. We're going to be doing an eagle today, and we'll see how that goes. Hello. There's two. Okay, I don't know who's coming in. It doesn't tell me. Alright. Don't know why it's not doing that. Okay. Hello everybody. I can't see who's coming in. Oh, there we go. We've got a couple people coming in now. Alright, we're going to do, you guys really wanted to do the eagle with the flag. So that's what I'm going to do. And actually we'll kill two birds with one stone, as they say, because actually it is the small one sitting on the top. These two are exactly the same size, and it's deceiving when you look at it the way it is. But anyway, hello Nina. Hello Chuck. Oh Chuck, your package went out, your wheels went out today, this afternoon in the mail, so you should get it very shortly. Alright, I'm going to get started on this because it's going to take a while to do this one. I think you guys voted this one in, so we're going to go ahead and do this one. Hello Jim, hello Jack. And we'll start by using one of the knives. We'll get one of the knives here. Hello Jack and Jenny. Welcome back. Believe it or not, I do have hot chocolate and stuff. You're welcome, Chuck. Hello Lisa. So we're going to start. Somebody wanted measurements a little bit on these, so you need a 3.5 inch by 1.5 by 1.5 and tapered a little bit from about a third of the way up is what we do. Alright, so what we're going to do is, I already drew out what we need, but actually to draw we're going to be doing this guy right here. Alright, and like I just said, this is actually killing two birds with one stone because it's actually the small one sitting on a flag. I know some of you wanted the bigger one. I can maybe do that one next week or the week after or something. And we'll see, maybe in August sometime we'll do the bigger one. But this was the one that was voted in, so we're going to do this one. I think people really enjoyed the contrast with the flag and all. So, when you get your block, you want to go exactly 1 inch up, and you're going to draw a line by holding your finger against it, leaning your pencil against it, and going all the way around. This is going to be the flag part on the bottom, okay? And if you do this right, it should match up exactly right on the other side. Hello, James. So, and then it's also 1 inch from the top to here to the bottom of the beak, and from there it's about 3/8 of an inch from the top. So what you want to do is, when you draw this portion on, you want to make it straight across. You use your finger again to make it even, okay, to go from one side to the other. Then you want to measure it. It's probably, let's see how far in I actually put that. Let me measure it back here and I'll tell you. I don't have a small. It's probably just about a 1/2 inch. Yeah. Alright, 1/2 inch in from here to here. You can go a little bit further if you want. That's fine. And then you're going to just do the letter S, a little bit of a letter S there, and then you're going to curve it at the bottom. Same thing over here. You're going to bring this down, you're going to curve it. Hello, Barb and Dean. And so just go ahead and put those markings on. Then I put the markings for the feet at the bottom. I put on, and I measure again with my finger and my pencil on both sides. And I do the same thing over here. I made this a little wider because I like it a little bit wider, a little bit taller for the back part of the tail. Alright. Some of you have been asking if I'm going to have classes here at the farm. I'm not sure yet. All depends what this variant does, and you know, and I don't really have anything planned yet. So, but I'll let you folks know as soon as I have something ready. I'm going to show you the big Santa I did. Maybe we can do something large in a class. Maybe you make it 2 days, a day and a half or something. I haven't decided yet. So the first thing I usually do with these is I cut underneath the bill here, so, or the beak, peak, whatever you call it. I think, so I'm going to go all the way around. I'm going to slowly cut the corners off there a little bit and round it as I go until I get to those corners. Okay, there we go. You don't want to go completely flat all the way across because then it'll be too much. Okay, so you notice I'm not going from the middle, I'm just kind of rounding that off at the bottom. Alright, then I'm going to go up here and we're going to just dig in a little bit and we're going to do a little V-cut on both sides, and I'm going to take this off a little bit. Alright, now I'm going to take my little V tool. Let me figure out which one I sharpened before coming in here. I take my V tool and I follow this kind of on the outside and right around just like so. I'm on the outside of that line. Okay. It's been kind of warm here in PA. We've had some crazy weather lately. I think it's all over the place. It's either warm or it's cool, but typical summer. So we're going to bring this down a little bit more, and we're going to take this out just a tiny bit more. Alright, now I'm going to start, because we need a little bit of a rounded portion there at the top. That's alright, Linda. Hello, Robert. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife, since we have where it's going to be, and we're going to just go up to the top, and we're going to push in, just like so. Alright, we're going to go from this side, and we're going to cut that out. Bring that beak out. Alright, same thing here. And when you cut this, you're going to cut it parallel with, you're not going to cut it in like this. You're going to go straight in as you're looking at it, as this is the front. So, okay, cut that out a little bit. You want to be very careful when you do this, because you don't want to put too many knife marks in your piece, in your bill there. So I'm going to clean that out a little bit. See how far I got it in already? Alright. It's got a little ways to go yet, so we'll do it again. And let me do this with the V tool. Right here, this is supposed to be in a little bit, so we're going to just cut this out. We're just going to cut it in a little bit. I don't know how long this is going to take me tonight if you want me to do all the feathering and stuff, so just bear with me a little bit. So this is just going to go in a little bit right there. Might be too small, but you got the idea. It's been a busy summer for a lot of folks. Things are opened up here in PA, but the variant really isn't here yet. It is a little bit, but it's starting to get more cases here in Pennsylvania, and that has us all kind of worried how that's going to pan out. So we'll see. Okay, let me see if I can get that out. It's hard for me to see from over here. Alright. I'm going to do a little more on the top right here, and then we're going to start shaping the head. So that's all we're going to do for now for the top here. Alright, this I'm going to start shaping backwards, get that little crown on there, and we'll probably cut this a little deeper as we go, but let me start shaping the head here. So I'm going to bring this down one side. If you want, you can go ahead and, yeah, we'll pan out one way or the other, right? I'm not trying to be hilarious with it. Nothing funny about this stupid pandemic going on. We're all sick of it here in PA, like everybody else. So you can kind of do a little circle to show you how far in you gotta go. And I'm just gonna go ahead and keep cutting out up to that circle at the top, just like so. Alright, we're almost there. Alright, that's one side. We're going to do the other side. I'm sorry, Robert, I don't know why that's happening to you if your screen is freezing up. If you have a question, I'll try to keep a look at the screen as I'm working here. Now here, we're going to try to shape the profile. We have pretty much the front profile done, but we're going to work on bringing this down a little bit more first. Bring this down just a tiny bit more so it's even on both sides. And then we're going to start rounding it. I'm going to round it a little bit more from the front here too. And we're going to take that edge off a little bit on both sides. You don't want to take it down too far because we're going to put this little ridge in, okay, that you see. We're doing the one with the flag, folks, if you just tuned in. Alright, so I'm going to bring this down a little bit more. Okay, there we go. Bring this down a little bit more. Alright, let me just do a little cleanup back here for a second, just so that I can see something a little better. It's hard to see it from there. Okay. Alright, now, what we're going to do now is we're going to try to bring this in a little bit here. There needs to be a little bit of a lip there, okay? And this will be more pronounced as we do it. So, the next thing we're going to do is take our pencil, and see how I have this from the front here, and then I go up, and I bring it down a little bit. So from the top of his bill there, we're just gonna do a little bit of rounding off and evening it up a little bit more. We're gonna take this and we're gonna go up a little bit. What I do here is I measure, since this is kind of flat up here, I kind of measure how far up I'm gonna go. Alright, so this may have to come down a little bit more. There we go. Let's do that again. Like maybe 3/8 of it, not even a 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so now I use this and I come down from here and I go up. From here and I go up. So when you look at it from the front, it should be pretty even, but we'll even this all out. Okay, and then this comes down a little bit. It tapers off to the back. This is where your V tool comes in handy. I usually use my V tool, and I start back here and I just work my way very carefully and very slowly, just like so. I do the same thing on the other side. Well, I heard they opened up the Canadian border, but we haven't opened our side of the border yet. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper now that I have that line established. I don't want to go any higher, I just want to bring this down a little bit lower. There we go. I'm going to make this a little bit deeper. Alright. Then you take your knife and you're going to cut deeper in. You're going to start scooping this out where the eyeball is. Now you're going to also have to scoop it out a little bit here. You're going to have to make that match right at that corner where that crown is. Alright, just like that. You're going to bring this all the way back. There you go. And you can make it as deep as you want. I like it semi-deep, not overly. I'm going to just try to... You want to make that head more rounder, you can. It's up to you. I have it a little bit on the flat side. All of them are like that. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to cut it right there a little bit. We're going to cut that out. All the eagles are made the same way, like this. So when you look at it, his head starts to taper up. And let's see if we can get that nice and crisp in that corner. Nice cut. Alright, good. And I'm going to taper this out a little bit. Round this off. Alright, so that's kind of the head for now. Now we're going to start working on the body. We'll worry about this later. I usually work on this a little bit later. So let's do this. So how do I do the bottom portion? Well, you go up about an inch and make your line and put it all the way around. And then what I do is I use a little V-cut right there. One. Another little V-cut at each corner. And then I take my V tool and I follow. Now you can use your V tool all the way around. This just gives me a guide. I like doing it this way better. You know, and it just works better for me. So everybody has their own method of doing something, so different ways of doing things. Take my V tool again. Your V tool is going to be really important because this thing has a lot of feathering to it. This one even has more feathering to it. You know, it's a lot of feathering to it, and I'll explain how to do feathers. Years ago I used to do a lot of birds, songbirds and stuff. That's all we ever did back in the 80s and 90s, and I got away from that because birds weren't really my most favorite thing to do, but I did learn how to do hello mule rider. I learned a lot by doing those, and I can do very intricate birds. I think I've shown some of them to you, but it takes forever to burn those little feathers in it, and I really don't like the smell of that smoke. It just drives me crazy. I do not like it. So how I did this was, you know, I'll show you exactly how to get rid of that shingle look on the feathering. If I have a piece of paper here, I can draw that for you to show you how to do that. And I think I did some time ago, but there's different ways of doing the feathering. You can either put it in with a little V tool like I do, because this is more of a caricature than it is an actual realistic bird. So I'm going to put a little notch here. Take my V tool and I go down, I follow that line out. This is for his front feet, his little claws, big claws, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure I'm going to do anything in August. Haven't decided that yet. I have a lot going on in August, so Shady Maple was really, really good. I enjoyed seeing so many people there when I was set up with my camper. Oh, thank you, Chuck. That's my favorite too, to be honest with you. I use that thing all the time. I used to use dockyards, but I find this is much easier. It's shorter. You have a lot more control over it because it's shorter. Okay, so what we're going to do here, we're going to push this in on the side of the bird, and we're going to bring this down, okay? We're going to just chop that out. We're going to worry about the bottom flag. It's not a big deal. There's a little trick to that. To make sure the colors come out right, you have to count it out correctly. And we're going to do the same thing over here. I love to do the a bigger Santa, but it would be hard to do it the way I'm doing it now. 3.5 inches is really the tallest I like to do in this kind of a setting. I'm not sure. Okay, so we're going to do the back tail now. We're going to do the same thing. We're doing this right here right now. Okay? We're going to just poke this in like that and do a nice deep little V cut there. That a little bit in your feet in front. Same idea. Take the V-tool and we're going to just go down. If your V-tool is good and sharp, you can go in any direction without it tearing. And if it does start looking like it's got a little white line or something, then you know it's got to be sharpened up. Alrighty. So let's take that off of there. I'm going to round the sides off a little bit. Again, you want to try to take off all those saw marks. The same thing on this side. Everybody loves the American Eagle. Well, maybe not the Canadians, but at least we do. You know, that's usually a good seller. You know, people in the service or, you know, just patriotic. Now, I'm trying to do a round breast there, so I try not to keep it flat. I don't know if I have the same thing over here. Yeah, I have it nice and rounded. That's what you want. You don't want it to look flat. You want to have a little bit of a shape to it. And so alright. And then the same thing with the back. I kind of have a little bit of a rounded back for him. Now, let me explain something real quick to you. These are both the same size. And this one might be a little bit taller. It is a little bit taller. But they're roughly the same size. This size is the ornament size. I enjoy doing it. It's a little faster, and I thought he looked pretty cute. So, you know, if somebody wanted to hang him in the tree or something for Christmas, this is a good one for that. A lot of people enjoy the big one. You know, they like the feathering, the detail and stuff on it. You know, it's up to you. You can make it as tall as you want. This is 2.5 inch. This is 3.5 inch. So, yeah. Let's see. So we're going to cut underneath the tail. We're going to cut upward. Like that tail's hanging up over top of this thing. Okay? And we're going to just round that off. Alright? Over here we're going to bring this in a little bit. And I think I have that pretty well even. So what we want to do is we want to trim it in this way. Towards the flag, and then we'll do the flag towards it later. Okay, we were trying to shape the body first of this eagle. That's the most important portion of it. If you have any questions, you can try to ask. I'll try to catch it as I'm working. I look at the screen, so, you know. All right. And the same thing here. We're going to bring this in a little bit. And his feet are a little bit rounded at the bottom anyway, so it's okay to do that, to round that off a little bit. The tail area, let me bring out my big ruler here and I'll tell you. It's about a 1/2 inch by, maybe looking at it, okay, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch from here to here, 3/4 of an inch looking at it straight on from here to there. All right. And his feet are just a bit smaller. It's probably 1/4 of an inch by a 1/2 inch. Maybe a little bit longer than that. Just to give you an idea. This will be on YouTube later on tonight. I'll try to remember how when I don't do it for a while, I have to remind myself how I get everything back onto YouTube. There's a system I use and all that. So I'm going to round off his body a little bit more and kind of. Now, I don't sand this thing when I'm done. I just go ahead and do the feathering. Similar to what we do the pine cone, I don't do any sanding for that either. And it works out pretty good. You're welcome, mule. It's 1 inch from the top of the head to here. It's 1 inch, and from this, it's 3/8 of an inch down. Somebody said I need to do measurements. It might help people a little bit. I'm trying to do a little more of that. I kind of just eyeball it and say, okay, I think that's a good place to put it. And I know not everybody can do that. So let's. I'm working on the tail right now. All right. Again, I'm trying to not take too much off the sides because I like to make it look rounded. Might have taken off a little bit too much there, but all right. And you want to take all that rough stuff off because if you don't, you're going to end up seeing a different color when you go ahead and paint it. All right, so let's go back to the tail. I know I'm jumping all over the place. That's just the way I carve. I work from one area to the other. I don't finish one area altogether. I kind of work around it. I'm going to cut. This is going to go in, so let's just cut that in. We're going to round that off just a tiny bit. All right. I got done doing the bush hogging out in the field last week and did some trimming with my DR trimmer on the back of the tractor, and that worked. I'm learning how to use that. It's been a lot easier to do the fence lines and stuff instead of using Roundup all the time, and so that's made that a lot easier. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do there. Let me just bring this down. Now, after I get offline, there's not a whole lot I can do to correct it once I'm done because I'll probably have the feathering on it, but I'm trying to hurry a little bit so it doesn't take so much time online. Okay, so I have a little bit of a dip there. I want a little bit of a dip here so it shows a little bit of a cheek. Okay? Alright, just a little bit. take a look at what I'm doing here. Okay, the front feet are the same way. You want to just trim them off and kind of round it off a little bit. Alright. I'm going to round off the bottom a little bit now, all the corners. Alright, good. I'm going to round off the bottom portion as well. Take all those corners off. Take off the, kind of make it a little bit different than just square if you can. And here too, you want to take all that rough stuff off if you can. Alright. It doesn't matter if you dig in a little bit, it just gives it a little bit of character and just flat. So you can just kind of take all that off there. I'm going to bring this up underneath here, just like so. Under the feet. This is the feet portion right here. And yeah, I'm just trying to scoop it out a little bit. There's no rhyme or reason to the bottom, so you have a lot of liberty there to do what you want. Okay. All right. Hope you're all having a nice summer. I'm hoping to get to Canada soon, but I don't know. There's some restrictions to getting there now. You need a COVID test, and I don't think, from what I understand, I don't think if you're driving up there, only if you fly up there, you have to get another test on the way home to get back into the United States. So I'm not sure how that's all going to pan out. There you go. Now, I did a little bit of a boo-boo there. Let me just see if I can get rid of that little thing there. There we go. Alright. So we'll see what happens. I was carving up a storm the last couple of weeks since I had been back from that event at Shady Maple, and I ended up doing like 18-20 pieces since I've been back. And you saw me paint them and put them online. And I was, sometimes just in the mood to cut wood and do some carving. And then actually I was in the mood to paint them, which is rare most of the time. Most carvers do not enjoy the painting portion, or they have to be in the right frame of mind like I have to be. So I'm just taking care of this rough stuff, people, so I can start doing the feathering. I'll finish up the bill in a little bit here, and the eyes. I'll put the flag in, and I'll show you how to put the feathering in. I'm just trying to quickly take this stuff off. Believe me, you don't have to go as quick as this. Just take your time. If I was doing this on my own, I'd be definitely taking more time in precisely where I want to cut and stuff. But yeah, he shaped out pretty good. Okay, so far he's coming along all right. And you're always going to have flat areas when you work from a block. It's going to look round, but it's really not round. It's square. Okay? You can see right there how square it is. Alright, so that's the beauty of doing these. I really enjoy doing them. Yeah, so I'm going to cut that off a little bit more. Give that a little more character. Alright. Now the bill. Alright, or the beak or whatever you want to call it, I start rounding this portion off just a tiny bit. Did I just knock something off? No, I didn't. So what I want to do is I like to spray it a little bit with the rubbing alcohol and water when I start working on the bill and stuff, because it just makes it a little easier to do the eyes and things. So what you want to do with that is, he has a little bit of a hook on, and it's not hard to do. It's a little bit of an illusion. What started me getting carving? A book at a hobby store, and I bought balsa wood and an X-Acto knife. The two wrong things to buy back then. And then I found a carving shop in Intercourse, Pennsylvania, called the Decoy Shop, and I worked there for a while. After I carved, he asked if I would help the store, and I certainly did for about 6 or 7 years, part-time along with farming up here. But it was just in a book, and I still have my original carvings from when I started. I'll show you them sometime. They're very primitive, but we all start somewhere. So it was a book, you know, it was a book. So, alright, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a curvature up, okay? Right underneath that point. So it gives it a little bit of illusion. Then you take your little V-tool and you go from the edge here, right at the corner, bring it up. There you go. That's all that's to it. The hard part is making the other side match. So you want to just take it a little bit away from the corner here. Okay, a tiny bit. And you want to just bring it up a little bit and just go to the back. There you go. Now this one here is a little more significant. Okay. So what I do here is I just kind of trim this out a little bit. If I have to, I just take a little bit out with my knife. But usually your V-tool will do most of it for you. Alright? And that's how you get it to look like there's a hook there. Now what I do here, right at the tip, I cut it up a little bit, very gently, and I cut that out. I usually cut that little corner out. And that's how you get your hook in there. If you want to, you can round that off a little bit, take that little hard edge off. Alright, and that's it. And then you just trim the rest of this off a little bit more. Now I'm going to make this a little more detailed. I'm going to just do another little V cut with my knife, just to distinguish where the bill is. Alright, or the beak. And I'll do this side a little bit, just to make it stand out a little bit more. Let me do it back here because I don't have my glasses on. I can't see very well. Alright, so from here, this isn't very even, but I will clean this up a little bit more when I get offline. Do the eyeball. The eyeballs are pretty big, so you want to kind of measure from here where the center of the eye is going to be. Alright, on both sides. And then you want to put a little half circle around. That looks a little creepy this way, but you know, so I go from here and I kind of measure where that eyeball is. The hard part is getting both sides to be even. That is always the most difficult part for me, for any of us, you know, because you've got two that you have to match up. There we go. Well, that's a little bit lower, so then I take the V-tool again and I just follow that circle. I just do one half first, I go to the bottom, and I do the other half up to the top. Alright, I'll do both sides that way. I just gently do it. I don't go in too deep because I'm going to do the rest with a knife. Okay. Whoops. That has to go over. All right. So then I take my knife. I'm going to switch the blade on this because I can tell it's starting to. Let me take my little blade here. And I'm going to cut the same thing again with my knife. I'm going to go in pretty deep with the tip of my knife. And I'm going to go from the top inside the eyeball towards the outside and cut it out. There we go. And then you want to do this little edge again. You want that to stick out a little bit, you know. You want that to be more of a deeper V cut. See the difference from that side to that side when you cut it out? Definitely different. So, and sometimes I'll go back to the corner up here to try to round it off a little bit more. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to cut it with my knife the same side as the little V cut, and then I'm going to go from the inside and cut it out and try to round that eyeball a little bit out. Painting them is not difficult. It's a very easy bird to paint. Okay, see how I have that one more rounded? I'm going to redo that. I'll do those eyes again, but you get the idea on that. Now this here needs to come in a little bit more. There we go. And all right. So that's pretty well how you do the head. Now I'm going to take this rough stuff off because that's not going to look right. Sometimes I like a little bit more rounded than it is. So to do the feathering, here we go. Not too bad. 45 minutes and we're already to this part of it. Okay, so I start doing little upside down V's or W's going around. And I'm going to show you portions of this. And what I often do is I try to put a line around to give me an idea, otherwise it's going to look crooked. Because you'll start this thing, sometimes you'll drift up or down, so I have my lines there. So, and you can make this as intricate as you want or as, you know, deep as you want. It's really up to you. As wide, there's no right or wrong way of doing it, because the feathering on the head is very, very simple. It's not very difficult. The stars, I just paint them by hand, and I'll share how I do that. I found a little secret that I ended up painting the stars a certain way by using the same method. So there you go. Okay. So once you're done with that, I'm going to go back to my other blade here because it's a little more pointier. And what you want to do is you want to go up here, you're going to push in and down on each line. Make sure you get the very top, and you're going to take your knife sideways and you're going to pop that out. Alright? Just like so. And you're going to do each one that way, all the way around. Now sometimes I'll go do 2 or 3 at a time like I'm doing now. But you want to make sure that you connect at the top. If you don't connect at the top, you're not going to have a clean cut coming out. You want to be careful with this. You want to take your time, because you don't want to take any of these little edges off on the bottom either. You know, if you break one of them off, it's not easy. There's always a way of fixing it, but if you don't have to fix it, it's better that you don't. And you can go pretty deep. It's not going to make any difference on the carving itself. So, but if you do it deep enough, you know, on the first cut, see, it just pops right out. Now see, I didn't get the top very well, so I've got to go back up here and have to cut it again. Try not to bring the cut up too far than what you have to do. Go right to the corner there to do it. Okay, don't go up here past the line, because you will get a line that way. You don't want that. But it's okay to go in deeper if you want, right at that corner. See how deep I have that? It's perfectly fine. Alright. This might be a little longer class because I want to show you exactly how this is done. Okay, right there, I'm going to pop that out. Alright. Okay, see how it's starting to come along here? So, alright. I did the eagles with the green hat last couple of years for some eagle fans, and they're fun to do too. It's a little different. I have to make a few of those before Christmas, of course, especially in this area. And I guess football has already started. Or am I wrong? No, it hasn't. Not yet. I don't know. I don't keep up with that. And I don't keep up with the Olympics either. But I usually start rooting for either one of three countries, either Canada, U.S., of course U.S. first, Canada, and then Holland, you know. I have family in all three of those, two of those other countries, so it makes it kind of fun. Now you're going to do a lot with your knife, more than with the V-tool. The V-tool, you're only going to use the V-tool to make your little lines in your feathering. So that's how that's done. Alright, so let's see. And you notice I don't have the blade turned this way. I have the blade turning away from it as much as possible, and I use that point of that blade to follow the top. Now I never pull it out. Just be sure you cut it out. If you pull it out, you might pull some of the wood out. Alright, so that's the top part of the eagle. Now we're going to start the feathering. Now I look at the front, and I usually do the two sides of the front, the big feathering, before we do the small ones. So I look at it, and I just kind of bring it down, and I start curving it backward, okay? Then I look at the front over here, and I do the same thing. Because, you know, you really can't see it from one side to the other if it's exactly the same. So then I bring this one down, and I bring another one down, and I bring a third one down. And you should reach pretty well to the end, okay? And the same thing here. I'll just go over here and put another one in, 2 and 3. Alright, there you go. Now, let me get rid of this little point here. That doesn't look right. Just trim that down a little bit. Right, I want to show something to you real quick. If I can find a piece of paper, I will show it to you. Of course, I don't have paper here. Hang on, I'm coming back. Alright, I can do it on this little piece. When you do feathering of any kind, whether it's the back or the breast, when you do duck feathers, you know, a lot of people will do it this way. Get this stuff off here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you do it right underneath, it will start looking like a shingle. Okay, you don't want that. You want to mix it up. How you mix it up is you put a feather on top of a feather. So if you do it like this, and you do it like that, then you do your second row. See what I just did? A feather on a feather. And sometimes, see how it breaks it up? It doesn't quite look like the shingle look. So when you're doing feathering, I don't really have the room on this one to do it. But if you're doing a large bird of some sort, and you want to do all the feathering, and you want it to look more realistic, this is how you have to do it. You do a feather on a feather. You know, and this is exactly how you do it. You know, and sometimes it breaks it up. You put a feather on a feather. So, but we're going to do a little bit more of this, but I tried to get this look, but it's hard to do it when you're on a small piece like this. So, I hope that was helpful. And that's how they do a lot of the realistic birds, is how they split up the feathering. So usually I start in the center somewhere, and I just start one, and I start one over here, two, and then I start one over here, three, and then sometimes I make one longer than the other, so it looks a little different, okay? Then I might go down here and I might do another one, you know. It's layered differently. It's not like a shingle look. This looks a little more like a shingle look, but it shouldn't. And let's do this one down like so, and one like that. So that's how we do the feathering. So let's show you how we do this. Same knife, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do the big feathering first. And we're going to just follow that all the way up. Now, this is the hard part, and this what takes a while, is to clean everything up in between each feather. Okay? And this is going to come down. Oh, you wanted to know how to paint the stars? This is how I do it. I start with the letter A. Then I kind of go from there, and then, I kind of paint everything in between is how I do it. So I always start with the letter A and a cross, okay? And then from there I do that side, and then you can just kind of fill in the other. That's how I make the stars. They're all a little different. Somebody will do it differently than that, but I do a letter A first. This is how I usually do it. Alright, so let's keep going here. So let's do these big feathers first, because that will speed things up. I'm going to do each line just to speed things up a little bit. There's a lot of feathering on these, and you have to be mindful how your grain is running. Grain is running up and down on this thing, so it's okay. So I try to keep the blade as flat as possible. I don't want a big bump in the middle of my feather. That's going to be harder to put those lines in with the V tool if it's too bumpy. So, you're going to just take your time with it. And then we've got one more here. Alright, so that's how we got those three feathers in. Let's do this side. Oh, we're moving along pretty good. I'm going to do all the cuts first, and then I'll go back and clean it out. Do my little stop cuts on them. Okay, so this is the top feather. These are all layered, as you can see. And so back up very carefully up to the top. You don't need it really super deep. You can if you want. If you want more character to it, you can always make it deeper, but you don't need to make it that deep. These take a while to do, and the other thing you could also do, if you don't want to do all the feather, you can paint them on. You could get to this point and you can go ahead and paint them on. You don't have to put all the feathering in, but a lot of the carvers enjoy putting the feathering in, which I can understand. It's a challenge. It's precision work with your knife, and it really teaches you knife control. It really does. Let's bring this down. Okay, we're going to bring this down a little bit. There we go. Alright, so how do you do this one? It's simple. Where did we start? Let's start here. We're going to take my knife and I'm going to do a stop cut. Just like so. Then I'm going to undercut each feather. And you can do any bird. You can do owls this way. You can do whatever you want. It's endless what you can do with this. You know, and if you've done the pine cone, then you can do this. You know, it's the same idea. You're just putting layers in. And, you know, it doesn't have to be precise where these feathers have to be. You can choose where and how big you want them and size and stuff. So, and you always start with one row. You do a top row first, okay? You don't start from the bottom up. You always start from the top down because you're layering it, just like you do a roof, you know. Well, the roof you actually start from the bottom up, but here you're working from the top to the bottom. Alright, then we'll do, let's see which one's next here. Let's do this one over here. Again, you don't want to put too many pencil lines all over the place, because if you do, and they'll show up through the paint if your paint's not thick enough. Alright, see how it's coming along? Alright, a few more and then we'll be done with the front and the sides. And then comes all the barbs you have to put in. Now, those of you that wanted to do the bigger one, you can. It's the same method, it's just longer, that's all. You can do whatever size you want. You can skip this and put the feet at the bottom and just extend this down further. So, it's not too bad. I'm going to do half on this side and do the half on the other side because the feet are in the way now. We have to put little things on that. Alright, and one more there. It's okay if you can't get a whole feather in here. That's fine. Don't worry about that. Okay, so that's how. Alright. Now, the other side yet. You can make them different sizes too. If you look at feathering, they're not all perfectly the same size. Alright, so that's the front. Okay, there, and then we got our sides. We got just a few more in the back to do, and then we'll start with the let me just round that off a little bit more. I don't like the way that looks. Especially if I want to sell this thing later, I have to make it look right. So let's redo that top there. Alright, good. Again, I just start from one side. And it's not a lot of room here, so we're just going to put 3 or 4 in here, not too many. And this can go down there, and that's it. Now if you want to burn this in with a wood burner, you can. Take you a little longer. Wood burners, professional people that do the birds, like Ernie Mulmont, I think he could get 110 barbs in an inch. That's a lot of those little lines. I mean, that's razor small. Um, if you've ever seen any of these lifelike birds at any of these shows, it's quite a, it's quite a, it's quite something to see. A lot of work put into it. I saw a full-size turkey. It was huge. And he did all the feathering that way. My half-size eagle has all that. It took me over 200 hours to do it. But I prefer to do it this way. It's faster and I enjoy the cutting on the wood more than burning the wood. Some people enjoy the wood burning, and that's fine. You know, everybody's different with what they like to do. So, alright, so now we've got the tail portion to do. Let's hurry up and do that. Okay. Your top feather comes on first, and I just put one line. Okay. Same thing, you take your knife, bring it down and around, and I just kind of now when I start the feathering portion, I may not finish all that in front of you, but I'll go over each section of how to do it so you have the idea on how to do it. And yeah, so the other thing we've got to do is okay, that portion's done. Let's do a little bit on the flag. So I have the stars on this side, the blue portion. So all I do is kind of make a little bit of an S. And then you want to count. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, because you're going to go, what you want to do is you want to make sure you start with a red and end with a red. So however you want to lay that out is up to you. So if this is a red, this is a white, this is a red, this is a white, I've got to count that out. Okay, so however way you want to do it, this, okay, so it's red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white, red, white. I got it wrong. Say, I got it, I got it wrong. So I'm going to have to redo this, but all you do, I can put another one in here. This would be fine. Put another one there. Okay, so I take my V tool when I do this portion, and I just start following my lines out. I do the bottom portion first. And if you want to make it a little curvy, that's fine. Like I said, there's no right or wrong way of doing this stuff. Now we'll do the top portion. Now if that doesn't free up, you have to take your knife to the top and pop it out. And then I shape it up a little bit more. It looks really cool when you finally start to paint it, but just make sure you start with a red and you end with a red. I don't think it makes that much difference, but that's just the way I prefer to do it. Alright, so that's kind of the flag. Now what I do here too is I make it deeper with my knife so it's a real good separation. Then if you do it deep enough, the paints won't bleed into each other. And then I just round it off a little bit, and I go over each one that way. See how far I put the knife in? That little cut will keep that thing from bleeding from one to the other. And then you just round it off. And it doesn't have to be flat, it can be a little bumpy. It doesn't matter. You know. I won't do the rest of this, but you get the idea. Okay? So that's how the flag is done at the bottom. You just go ahead and see the difference when you put the extra line in versus putting the line in deeper and rounding off each edge than just leaving it flat. It gives it a little more shape to it, and it's nicer that way, I think. So I always put the blue on a corner so you'd be able to see it. You know, you can put the blue wherever you want. If you want to put it in the center, you can, but I think this always looks a little nicer to do it, and then you paint your little stars on. Alright, so let's start with, let me spray it. Before I use this thing, I usually end up spraying it. Alright, get it good and wet here. And let's see, I think I have another one of these. Let's see if this one's really nice and sharp. Alright, so let's go ahead and do the head. Now the head, I kind of have it going in that direction. Alright. And you can see how I have this. It goes from here, it goes down, and from the bill it goes around down. So this is a little funny to do it this way because I usually go to the bill and I work around it just like so, and I start turning it already. And how I do these little things, I usually do from the bottom up because I'm afraid I'm going to knock something out if I don't do it that way. So, you know, just take your time, do little strokes, do long ones, whatever. Have some kind of consistency when you do it, you know. So I usually do the bottom ones first. It just makes it a little easier to mix. I always like working from the edge to the center. It just makes it a little bit easier to do things. Alright, so that's how you do the head. I'll do one half here to show you, and then I'll do the other half when I'm offline, just to give you an idea how it's done. And then I turn it around and I go up the other way. You have to be mindful how the grain is running. Okay, so now let's start. So that's how you do the head. The heads, I'm going to take more time. And then the same thing here, you want to go from here down and around, and here straight down at a little bit of an angle here. You can go up underneath here and, you know, do these little things as well. Okay, so when you do your feather, the big one, I'll just do one side to show you. I'm going to do my little barb in the center here. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go downward, right? So I'm just going to some are going to be deeper than others. It's okay. Nothing wrong with it. Alright? And then you're going to do the other side. You just want to take your time with it. I'm hurrying because I'm trying to get this done for you so you can get an idea how to do everything. Well, a bunch of DVDs behind, about 8 or 9 now. I haven't done many on DVD. They are on YouTube. I will put these on DVD eventually. Hopefully by the time I go to a carving show next year, I'll have all that done. And then this one here doesn't have a barb thing. I just take it and it's very difficult to do it this way. You just want to take your time. You don't push up into the other feather. Okay. And you're going to do the other one the same way. If something doesn't free up, you can always take your knife and pop it out. I'm not answering that, whoever's calling.